All right, let's start with updates from the UNG. Addressing the 80th UN General Assembly in New York, the US President Donald Trump went on a tirade against the United Nations in a speech that lasted 55 minutes. And mind you, that's more than 3 times the permitted time limit. Trump blasted the international body and accused it of not living up to its potential. Trump complained that the United Nations has only given him 2 things: a bad escalator that stopped midway while he and First Lady Melania were at the UN headquarters, and also a teleprompter that malfunctioned when he started speaking.
It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen, but she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations: a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
But of course, it didn't end there. Further, Trump lamented that while he solved 7 wars in 7 months, some of which were unsolvable, the United Nations made no attempt to help him finalize a peace deal in any of the cases, as you just heard. In a dig at the United Nations, Trump remarked that empty words don't solve wars, only actions do. Trump ruminated on a 2-decade-old grievance that his bid to renovate the UN headquarters had been rejected. He further criticized the UN for failing to bring peace and claiming the world body encourages illegal migration and is funding assault on Western countries and their borders.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders.
Then later, in a bilateral meeting with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Trump's tone towards the UN shifted significantly as he assured Guterres that the US backs the institution and its potential for peace.
Our country is behind the United Nations 100%. I think the potential of the United Nations is incredible, really incredible. It can do so much. So I'm behind it. I may disagree with it sometimes, but I am so behind it because I think the potential for peace with this institution is so great.
Earlier during his speech that opened the 80th session of the General Assembly, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for world peace and vowed not to give up for world peace.
We must never give up. That is my promise to you, for peace, for dignity, for justice, for humanity, for the world we know is possible when we work as one. I will never, ever give up.
And there's more on this from our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who sends us this report from New York.
President Donald Trump delivered his speech at the United Nations on Tuesday using the 80th anniversary gathering of the General Assembly to sharply question the UN's mission and criticize its effectiveness. A major theme of his address was illegal migration. He accused the United Nations of supporting uncontrolled migration and, quote, open borders, warned that Western countries were being overwhelmed, and demanded immediate action to secure borders. He also took aim at his predecessor, political opponents, and nations recognizing Palestinian statehood. Trump reiterated his call for all hostages to be released from Gaza. He, of course, talked about the difficulty he's had in resolving the war in Ukraine. Among the day's other speakers were France's Emmanuel Macron, Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed Al Thani, King Abdullah II of Jordan and Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, each highlighting the Middle East conflict and urging renewed international action. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.